Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Awards Gambit. I hope everybody is having a wonderful weekend. I hope everybody is watching movies, enjoying themselves, enjoying their days off, and having fun. I am here today to do my 2024 Oscar nomination final predictions. Very exciting. We got nominations coming out on Tuesday morning, January 23rd. I'm super excited. I can't wait to share all my picks with you. I got my Oscars t shirt on, so I'm all ready to go. So, why don't we get started? We're going to start with Best Picture. My predicted nominees are Oppenheimer, The Holdovers, Barbie, Poor Things, Anatomy of a Fall, Killers of the Flower Moon, American Fiction, Maestro, Past Lives, and The Zone of Interest. And my spoilers are Saltburn, The Color Purple, and All of Us Strangers. I feel pretty good about this top 10. This is the PGA nominees. They've been showing up across the Precursor Awards relatively consistently. I think Maestro, Past Lives, and Zone of Interest are the most vulnerable, and there's a small chance that any of their spots could be taken by Saltburn, Color Purple, or All of Us Strangers. But I'm pretty confident in this top 10, and I think it's a rather excellent group of films. Up next, for Best Director, my predictions are Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer, Martin Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon, Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things, Justine Triet for Anatomy of a Fall, and Greta Gerwig for Barbie. And my spoilers are Alexander Payne for The Holdovers, Jonathan Glazer for The Zone of Interest, and Celine Song for Past Lives. This lineup was a bit trickier to figure out. I would say the top three of Nolan, Scorsese, and Lanthimos are pretty locked. The last two spots are definitely more fluid. But I went with Justine Triet because I feel like her speeches at the Golden Globes were really well received. And there's almost always at least one director of an international and or foreign language film. At least the past few years that's been the case. So I think that could be heard this year. I've also seen a lot of pundits dropping Greta Gerwig, but I'm sticking with her. What she did with Barbie was superb. It would be a shame if she didn't get in. So I'm staying with her for my fifth spot, but I really wouldn't be surprised if Alexander Payne or Jonathan Glazer took one of those last two spots. For Best Actor, my predicted nominees are Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer, Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers, Bradley Cooper for Maestro, Colman Domingo for Rustin, and Jeffrey Wright for American Fiction. And for my spoilers, I have Leonardo DiCaprio for Killers of the Flower Moon, Barry Keoghan for Saltburn, and Andrew Scott for All of Us Strangers. I really like this top five. This is the SAG nominees. For Best Actor, I think the top three of Murphy, Giamatti, and Cooper are locks. And Domingo and Wright could miss to DiCaprio or Keoghan or even Scott, although that BAFTA snub for Andrew Scott was not a good sign for him. But definitely still a slight chance. But yeah, these are my top five, and I feel pretty good about them. For Best Actress, my predicted nominees are Emma Stone for Poor Things, Lily Gladstone for Killers of the Flower Moon, Sandra Hüller for Anatomy of a Fall, Carey Mulligan for Maestro, and Margot Robbie for Barbie. And for my spoilers, I have Annette Bening for Nyad, Greta Lee for Past Lives, and Fantasia Barrino for The Color Purple. So this is definitely the top five, I would say. They all performed excellent at the Precursors, despite the egregious BAFTA snub for Lily Gladstone, but whatever, BAFTA can be weird like that. I think Robbie and Mulligan are probably the most vulnerable, and they could be replaced by Bening, Lee, or Barrino, but this is a solid top five, and I'm going to stick with them. For Best Supporting Actor, my predicted nominees are Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer, Ryan Gosling for Barbie, Robert De Niro for Killers of the Flower Moon, Sterling K. Brown for American Fiction, and Charles Melton for May December. And for my spoilers, I have Mark Ruffalo for Poor Things, Willem Dafoe for Poor Things, and Dominic Sessa for The Holdovers. This category was so difficult to fill out. It's been giving me agita ever since the SAG nominations. But I'm confident Downey, Gosling, and De Niro will get in, and the last two spots I feel like are totally up for grabs. The other potential nominees only got in at one or two precursors. I put Sterling K. Brown in because he's so well respected, and the Critics' Choice and SAG nominations he got, I feel like that's a good combo. And I'm sticking with Melton despite missing SAG and BAFTA because he was so gut wrenchingly good in May, December. And I think he'll get in, and I want him to get in, but I would not be shocked if either of the Poor Things boys or Sessa took the last two spots. For Best Supporting Actress, my predictions are Divine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers, Emily Blunt for Oppenheimer, Danielle Brooks for The Color Purple, Penelope Cruz for Ferrari, and Sandra Hüller for The Zone of Interest. And for my spoilers, I have Jodie Foster for Naiad, Julianne Moore for May December, and Rosamund Pike for Saltburn. This category is also giving me agita. I feel safe predicting Randolph and Blunt. I think they're locks. And I think Brooks is too. I know some people have dropped her, but I'm sticking with her. I had a really hard time even narrowing down the spoilers, but I'm predicting SAG nominee Penelope Cruz because she got in 2 years ago for Parallel Mothers with no precursor nominations. So that shows how respected she is by the Academy. And Ferrari may be weak, but all of the films that she's been nominated for were relatively weak, and none of them got Best Picture nominations. And for my fifth spot, I went with Huller because I feel like Zone of Interest stock is rising, and I just have a gut feeling she's going to get double nominated. So I'm just sticking with my gut and putting her in my fifth spot. I so wanted to put Jodie Foster in here because she's so good in Naiad and she's been doing really great on the campaign trail. But I feel like Naiad is dead in the water, no pun intended. Her nomination or lack thereof would remind me of last year Eddie Redmayne missing for The Good Nurse, and 2 years ago Ruth Negga missing for Passing. They both showed up at multiple precursors, were heavily predicted to get in. They were all in Netflix movies, and I feel like she's going to miss just like they did. But spots 4 and 5 are really anyone's to take, so I wouldn't be shocked if they went to Jodie Foster or Julianne Moore or Rosamund Pike or even America Ferrera for Barbie. For Best Original Screenplay, my predicted nominees are Anatomy of a Fall, Past Lives, The Holdovers, May December, and Saltburn. And for my spoilers, I have Maestro, Air, and The Boy and the Heron. This race has been much more interesting ever since Barbie was deemed adapted by the Academy. And like a lot of other categories I've talked about, I feel like there's 3 locks. And that is the top 3 of Anatomy of a Fall, Past Lives, and The Holdovers. And I feel like 4 and 5 could miss out to Maestro. I really don't see Air or The Boy and the Heron sneaking in, but you never know. For Best Adapted Screenplay, my predicted nominees are Oppenheimer, Barbie, Poor Things, American Fiction, and Killers of the Flower Moon. And for my spoilers, I have The Zone of Interest, Origin, and All of Us Strangers. I'm very confident in my top 5. They've been doing very well at the precursors. I think the one that's most at risk of missing is Killers of the Flower Moon. And I feel like maybe Zone of Interest or All of Us Strangers or even the late push of Origin could get into that 5th spot, but I feel pretty great with my top 5 for now. And now we will be moving on to the below the line categories. These can be a bit harder to predict, but I'm going to give it my best shot, and I probably won't talk about these categories as in depth. For Best Cinematography, my predicted nominees are Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, Poor Things, Maestro, and The Zone of Interest. And my spoilers are Saltburn, Barbie, and El Conde. I feel like this is a solid top 5. I would love to see Saltburn get in, and I think it could take the Zone of Interest spot, but I have a feeling it'll end up being a lone screenplay nominee and miss here, which I'll learn to live with. Gotta love Saltburn. For Best Editing, my predicted nominees are Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, Poor Things, Barbie, and Anatomy of a Fall. And for my spoilers, I have the holdovers, Ferrari, and Maestro. I think the top four are safe here, and I feel like the fifth spot is a toss up between Anatomy of a Fall and the holdovers, with Ferrari possibly popping in here. I just had a gut feeling about Anatomy of a Fall, so I'm sticking with that. For best sound, I have Oppenheimer, Maestro, Ferrari, Barbie, and The Zone of Interest. For my spoilers, I have Killers of the Flower Moon, The Killer, and Napoleon. The top three I like. I put in Barbie because I just feel like it's going to have a really good nomination morning, get in many categories some people weren't even expecting to get in. But I wouldn't be surprised if it or the Zone of Interest missed in favor of Killers of the Flower Moon or even long shots like The Killer and Napoleon. For Best Production Design, my predicted nominees are Barbie, Poor Things, Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, and The Zone of Interest. And for my spoilers, I have Asteroid City, Maestro, and Napoleon. I'm really into this top five here. They all had such good production design and set design. I think the Zone of Interest could miss to any of the spoilers, but I feel confident in its nomination here because I feel like it reminds me of Parasite. How that was a little bit of a surprising nomination, even though some people were predicting it. And like the house in Parasite is reminding me of like the house in the Zone of Interest and its importance and its significance in the plot and the story. So in my head, that's what I have in the back of my head. Zone of Interest, fifth spot. I'm feeling good about this top five. For best costume design, I have Barbie, Poor Things, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Napoleon. For my spoilers, I have The Color Purple, Wonka, and Maestro. Yeah, this top five is pretty solid. I guess Napoleon would be the most vulnerable to a miss, but I really don't see any of the spoilers taking its spot. But you never know. We'll see. For best makeup and hairstyling, my predicted nominees are Maestro, Poor Things, Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, and Golda. For my spoilers, I have Napoleon, Ferrari, and Society of the Snow. I'm confident in the top four. I've been predicting Golda to get in for months now. It has such heavy and realistic prosthetics. But I suppose that any of the spoilers could take its spot. I'm still in disbelief that Barbie didn't make the shortlist, but whatever. I guess we'll see on Tuesday what gets in at that fifth spot. For best visual effects, I have The Creator, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Poor Things, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and Society of the Snow. For my spoilers, I have Godzilla Minus One, Napoleon, and Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I do not feel super confident in my predictions here. I know The Creator and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 have shown up consistently, so I think they're safe, and Poor Things has an advantage being a presumed Best Picture nominee. But for all I know, any of the spoilers could take spots 3, 4, and 5. We will find out on Tuesday. For Best Score, I have Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, The Zone of Interest, Poor Things, and Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. For my spoilers, I have Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, The Boy and the Heron, and Elemental. This is a great category. There were a lot of great scores this year, and I had a tough time filling out this one. But I felt safe predicting Oppenheimer and Killers of the Flower Moon, and I do think Zone of Interest and Poor Things will get in. The fifth spot is most up for grabs, but I went with Indiana Jones because it's composed by John Williams. He's such a powerhouse. He has over 50 nominations and 5 wins. But I wouldn't be shocked if he missed any of my animated spoilers here. For Best Song, I have I'm Just Ken from Barbie, What Was I Made For from Barbie, The Fire Inside from Flamin' Hot, Road to Freedom from Rustin, and It Never Went Away from American Symphony. For my spoilers, I have Keep It Movin' from The Color Purple, Quiet Eyes from Past Lives, and High Life from Flora and Son. I'm still upset that Dua Lipa is most likely going to miss here because of the dumb rule that only allows a maximum of two songs from the same movie to get in. But life goes on. I think the top four are pretty locked, and I'm confident in American Symphony getting a song nomination here. Reminds me of a song from the RBG documentary getting in, and the song from documentary about James Foley getting in. I feel like same thing will happen here with American Symphony. But, I guess there's still a small chance that one of the spoilers could take that last spot. For Best Animated Feature, my predicted nominees are Spider Man Across the Spider Verse, The Boy and the Heron, Elemental, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, and Nimona. And for my spoilers, I have Chicken Run, Dawn of the Nugget, Suzume, and the Super Mario Bros. Movie. I am very confident with this top five. I don't really see any of the spoilers getting in, but you never know. For Best International Feature, my predicted nominees are The Zone of Interest from the UK, Society of the Snow from Spain, The Taste of Things from France, Perfect Days from Japan, and 20 Days in Mariupol from Ukraine. For my spoilers, I have Fallen Leaves from Finland, The Teacher's Lounge from Germany, and Totem from Mexico. This category is definitely a bit more fluid. I feel like there's always some surprises here, but I'm confident in my top five. I think the spoilers are strong films too and could potentially take any of the spots 3 through 5. So we'll see what happens on Tuesday. It's always fun to see some surprises. And for my last category, we have Best Documentary Feature. The nominees that I have predicted are American Symphony, 20 Days in Mariupol, Beyond Utopia, Four Daughters, and still a Michael J. Fox movie. For my spoilers, I have The Eternal Memory, Apollonia, and To Kill a Tiger. I know very little about most of these titles, so I'm kind of shooting in the dark here, but I think the top five performed very well at the precursors. I've consistently seen these titles on many lists, so I'm sticking with this group of five. So that concludes my final predictions for the 2024 Oscar nominations. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Let me know in the comments what your hot takes are, your most controversial picks, who you think's gonna get snubbed, who you think's gonna be a surprise. Super excited. Coming up on Tuesday. It's gonna be a great morning. I'm very, very excited. As always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Feel free to email any questions to awardsgambit@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram. Check me out on Instagram. Check out my reels. Check out my shorts on YouTube. You guys rock. I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend and a great week ahead. And I will catch you next time on the Awards Gambit.